in sobriety you can have another life. And from that point of view, you know, I couldn't say no. So that's really, from my point of view, the reason I wanted to do it. And to be honest, he did me a big favor because it gave me a different view of my life than I'd ever seen before. You know, being a musician, you go from one gig to the next, and you know, you just hope you're not going to be out of work. And I got a chance to, through Mark's eyes and through other filmmakers' eyes and other people's eyes, get to see kind of the body of work, and that, you know, I did okay. I did okay.
Yeah. I was going to say what's amazing. What's amazing is growing up in the 60s and 70s, and the TV theme songs were big band in your face, really, you know, no individualized experience. And certainly with 30-something, you changed that whole dynamic. And what do you attribute? Do you think your influence was because there was a lot more character development at that point, where you could really start to relate, like some relationships? But you totally changed the whole music scene for television themes, and really made it a soulful, deep, individualized experience. Everybody had a different experience rather than Hawaii 5-0 right in your face.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, I can't see my work, so I have a hard time with that. I did the only thing I knew how to do, which was sit and play music until something happened emotionally. And you know, I never learned to read or write music. I didn't come from that, so all I know how to do is to look at the characters and see what they're going through and see what comes out of me. So it was not intentional. If they'd have asked me to do a Hawaii 5-0, I couldn't have done it. You could have put a gun to my head and it wouldn't have happened. I think I was at the right place at the right time with the perfect lack of ability. And that forced me to dig deep, and it resonated with some people, and that's, you know, I guess that's why I kept working. I was always, for the first 15 years, I was surprised anybody called. So, but I see it differently than other people see it. You know, I know the struggle it is, and how painful it is to try to get down to the things that are inside. And that's what I try to do. It's the only thing I know how to do. I didn't learn anything else.
Earlier you, at the intimate conversation, which maybe some of you attended, you talked about your process versus other people's process. Could you talk a little bit about that, certainly from the standpoint of not knowing how to read or write music, which I'm still trying to grapple with that, how you pulled all this off, but how was the process in terms of how you come to these amazing pieces?
It's really as simple as that. I sit and talk to the creators about what their idea is, and then I sit and watch the film, and I just play until something begins to resonate in me, and I always record it, and then I play it back, and most of the time, 90% of the time, it doesn't move me, and I write something different and go over it and over it. But when I play it back and it begins to make me feel something, then I think I'm onto something, and I begin to develop that, and then then you have to get it to breathe with the film and to fit the arc of a scene, and there's so many technical aspects that I've been blessed to be taught by great filmmakers. Then I start to do that work, and that's more the craft. But the true emotion comes out in just getting out of the way and playing to the film until something happens emotionally. So I wish it was more technical in that, but that's about all it is.
Do you like doing multi-year series television more than feature film, because you can kind of musically develop your characters over time, or you know, is a feature film as fulfilling for you?
You know, it was great to have a job. You know, television lasts longer. I mean, it wasn't really about the money. I was so lucky to do great shows in television that I was always so busy, and television is different than film, especially when I started. You know, even HBO, when it came on, said, well, we're not television, we're HBO. So the guys from HBO wouldn't talk to me because I was doing television. And I did some movies. I found those great experiences for immersing yourself in it, but the gifts I've been given have been in television, and I never saw myself as a guy who's just doing television until I get to the movies. You know, I always was grateful that I had a job and was blessed with such wonderful shows. I mean, I can, half the shows I did were really good, and I got to work with great people, and you know, it's just been a blessing for me. So it wasn't a choice of either or, it's just kind of the way it unfolded for me.
Mark, your background, you did a lot of big Memorial Day programming and a lot of stuff for veterans, and she should be commended for amazing stuff. But I got immersed in all your stuff. So I'm just curious, you know, how you came to this really, because it's so different from the stuff that you've done before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm based in Washington, D.C., so we do a lot of Discovery, Nat Geo, military, you know, patriotic kind of programming, because that's where we live and that's what we have, and that's incredibly fulfilling. And one of the things I love about those shows and those types of programs is that, again, we're telling stories about incredible people. In those cases, we're telling stories about American heroes who have done incredibly brave or heroic things in service to the country, and that's really, you know, similar to, you know, telling Snuffy's story. It's, you know, it's a different type of profession or setting, but it's still shining a light on someone who has done just really incredible things, you know, for the people around him, and you know, so it's all about elevating, you know, the people around him. So, yeah, I mean, in that sense, this wasn't that different. It was fun doing something musical. I'm a big music fan, and so, you know, some of the people that we were able to go, I enjoyed going and hanging out with the guy from The Who, or the guy from Toto, or, you know, I spent my birthday with Martin Sheen. That didn't suck. That was kind of fun, you know. So, you know, so this was as much fun for me as anything, but really, it was an honor to be the one to share Snuffy's story with a wider audience, because you know, you are a pretty cool guy, and you know, have done some amazing work, and the people that are in the film, I think, are the biggest testament to Snuffy's character, because when word got out that I was doing a movie about Snuffy Walden, we got Aaron Sorkin, we got Martin Sheen, we got Tom Arnold, and you know, almost without exception, when people heard that we were doing this movie, they said, how can we help? You know, we want to be part of this. And I think that says a lot about who Snuffy is as a person, and where his heart is, that the people that he's come in contact with throughout his career have all, you know, just been willing to step up and say, what can we do to help you, tell Snuffy's story?
You know, earlier today you talked about kind of giving back and mentoring, you know, young people and getting above the noise. And what do you think the process should be for you know, younger composers, given this environment with Hulu and Amazon and all this, which you talked about, a lot more noise than there was before? I mean, how do you think they can rise above some of that?
Well, I can only share experience, and if I try to give anybody advice, it's just BS. So I can tell you the way it happened for me, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I did the only thing I could do, which in a way was such a blessing for me, because it gave me a specific voice. And if I could reach out to anybody who's trying to do any kind of music, really, or any kind of art, is to try to find your center and be true to that, you know. And I talked about it today, you know, I've veered off that, and Tom Arnold made me write a song one time, made me write a main title for him. Now I'm gonna pay him back. He wanted a Metallica song, and every time I wrote the main title for this song, Jackie Thomas, he kept saying, no, it needs to be closer, it needs to be closer, it needs to be closer. In the end of the day, we got sued by Metallica, and it's because I veered off what was true for me, and so I don't do that anymore. And I try to change and I try to grow, but I try to stay true to what's in my heart, and I think that is the only reason I've had a career. Somehow that's spoken to the television community at large, and gave me an opportunity to work with great filmmakers doing great films.
Well, we're certainly happy you came, and it's a great film. And I want to make sure we have some time for questions. If anybody has any questions.
I guess two quick ones.
You probably might need a mic. I don't know, because I don't know.
Can you hear me?
So, two quick
quick questions. So you write music all day, and I know it's great to hear that you also play that. Do you write for the bands? Do you write tunes?
Yeah.
And are you going to record those, and can we hear them?
Yeah, that's. I don't want to yell. Chris Kimsey, who was. Chris Kimsey, who's in this, produced my first record, and in the making of this film, we got a chance to spend more time together, and we're actually going into the studio, and I'm going to bookend my life with the first record I did with Stray Dog that Chris produced, and with hopefully not last, but one of the later records I'm going to do. I worked with the young girl that was in the film, Sarah Nimitz, and I've done a few records with her. I'm trying to give back to the artist community because so much has been given to me. And honestly, Mark has pushed me for years now to turn up the joy factor in my life. So I've gotten a little bit more away, separated myself from the grueling television schedule, which is grueling, it's 7 days a week, and moving more into finding what I had when I was young, the freedom and the joy of just making music without having to critique it or give it notes or have it fit anything, just be a pure expression. And I'm moving more toward that.
If I could ask one more, because when I saw you play piano, it sounded great. I mean, because you have a sort of a natural arranger's. I mean, I'm hearing what's happening in the bass and how it's beautiful. So how do you relate to the guitar now that you play piano?
Well, I relate to the guitar simpler now than I did when I was playing with Shocker or something. In my 30s, I had a lot of facility. When you're composing, you pick up a guitar for 5 minutes and you put it down, and you might not pick it up for 2 more days. So I think what it's done for me the last 30 years of composing and trying to clarify the emotion is it's made me a simpler player, but I can more easily tap into my heart and get out of the way of the music. And if it's done nothing for me, it's certainly I'm not a faster player, or certainly I'm not a cleaner player, but I think I have the ability now to tap into God's music quicker because of all the years that I had to think about what I was doing and edit it down and make it fit emotions of things that were on the screen. So that's kind of vague, but I think if it's done one thing, it's clarified it. It's clarified the emotional response for me. And I wish that was true every time I had to write a cue, because it's not. It doesn't just pour out and I tap into the music of the universe. It's really one of the most painful things I do, is writing music for film. But I think it's a clarifying process, and it's getting older. It's all those things of getting hopefully more to the point. I don't know if that answers your question.
Anybody else?
Where do you play in Los Angeles? Do you play locally?
I do. In Los Angeles, I perform at a place called Hotel Cafe. My band plays way out of town in Westlake at a little tiny bar called Bogies, and we do it. I mean, I played Tony Bronigal, he was in the film. He and I started playing together when I was 18, and we still play together. The bass player in my band, he and I played together when I was 19 in Texas. So we're all in a band together. It's really special. It's really great. So I play at little bars, and occasionally, I'm going to do a series of concerts. One at the Grammy Hall of Fame there in Hollywood. We're going to open a show for Eric Burden with little Sarah. I just finished a 5-week tour in Europe playing with Sarah and my son playing bass. So I'm just trying to experience a lot of different pieces of it. In LA, there's not a lot of places to play. And Hotel Cafe is a great listening room, and that's why I probably go there.
Thank you.
Mark, what's next for the film? What do you have planned for future screenings?
That's a great question. We're enjoying kind of the festival circuit now through the fall, and then my goal, and we're in talks with people now, having some broader distribution path for beyond that. I'm not yet sure which path that's going to be, whether it's Netflix or an iTunes or an HBO or Showtime. But by this fall, it should be somewhere where it'll be accessible to a wider audience. I mean, that's the goal for the film, and I think there's an audience out there. As we've taken this route on Friday, this past Friday, I was in Ogden, Utah, in the Egyptian Theater with a crowd of 600 people that were there to see this film. And I think there's something about Snuffy's story. You don't have to be a fan of The West Wing. You don't have to be a fan of Eric Burdon. You don't have to be an alcoholic. But if you're any of those things, there's something in here you can connect with. If you're all those things, then you love this film. So I think it's accessible in that way, and so that's the goal: is to whatever the path is, put it someplace where a wider audience can find it. So.
It's like your music's a family member that's been in our house for years that we've never met the person. Now we have. Now we have.
I've been in everybody's bedroom.
Any more questions? We'll take one or two more after that.
You spoke in the talk earlier that you had a gig where you wrote a piece of music that the director, the creator of the show didn't like, and you had to redo it in a weekend. I'm just wondering the difference of what the final product was to what you originally had played for him.
Well, it was different. It was totally different. I mean, it was still an acoustic guitar score. What I did was I changed the momentum of the piece. You're talking about the one with the movie where I did Ed's Wig, and he said that's a lovely score for a television movie, but isn't a feature. What I brought to it the next morning was a simpler melodic structure, and I played it with acoustic guitar backed with a cello quartet. And that brought, for him, the warmth and the humanity, and I simplified what I was doing as a technician, and maybe I got more close to the heart. Anyway, it was different, and he liked it the second time, so that was what mattered more than anything. I arranged it different. I tried to came from a different place. I think the fact that, although they weren't here, the fact that I spent 3 days, meditating and praying my ass off because I didn't have a clue what I was going to write by Monday, I think that opened me up to a different emotion, and I think somehow that worked together in tandem. I don't know, I couldn't put it in words. I don't intellectualize what I do. I try not to. When I do intellectualize it, I'm probably not in the moment, and I'm probably not doing God's work.
One more.
Hi, I'm actually studying to be a film composer at Berklee College of Music. So it's very comforting to hear that you're a little self-conscious about your work, as good as it is. I get super self-conscious as well, so it's nice to hear that even the people who are great get that way. But I just wanted to ask you, your process for writing, has it had to change at all? I know, like, nowadays, like, people are having to use certain DAWs, or, even having to record and orchestrating and mock-ups and stuff like that. Have you had to do anything like that now?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to change with the technology, because the technology, luckily when I started, Digital Performer had one version, and it wasn't digital, and it was Performer 2.4, and so when I first started doing television, I started working with the computer, even though I was a guitar player. So I would sketch it out with a guitar synth or with a piano or something, and then go in and record it. Now you do huge mock-ups, and you're supposed to sound like Hans Zimmer by the time, in 10 minutes. And we have the tools to do that now. The essence of the piece doesn't change. Certainly the technology gives you the ability to express it in a larger scope, or to express it in a more complete form. And a lot of times in television, West Wing's a good example. The first 6 episodes were orchestral. The rest of the 7 years, I performed and did everything in my studio by myself. There wasn't any other musician involved. So, the technology will allow you to do that. And honestly, I did that because Aaron couldn't write the scripts fast enough, and sometimes I'd have a day or two to turn the show around. So, the technology you have to adapt to, but the inner process stays the same.
I saw that the back of your interview, you use Pro Tools. Do you sequence in there, or do you just play into it?
No, I only sequence in Digital Performer, and it's the only one I ever learned, and I'm too old to learn a new trick. So
That's what I use.
my engineers have Pro Tools, but I don't sequence in it.
Thank you. Mark, thank you for making this film.
Thank you.
We're honored that you chose for me to be here, because I know some are not getting your presence at the film festivals.
We've been in 20 festivals, and this is Snuffy's second time to see it. He came to the premiere, and he came to Albuquerque. So this is nice.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.